I'm engaged, now what?
Engagement season's coming up.
It
Thanksgiving,
all the
Christmas,
holidays.
Valentine's.
Love is in the air.
Love is in the air.
Being in the wedding industry, I know the time goes by so fast. Like literally in a blink of an eye, it's gone.
Engagement is supposed to be really fun, but it also can be really, really overwhelming.
There will be arguments, which is normal. So don't feel
Yes.
like we're talking about our wedding and we're arguing a lot. Like, are we okay? Is this normal? It is so normal. I mean, you guys are gonna be together forever, and you've been individual people, and now you're learning how to become one. Throughout your engagement is your navigation to become one.
Sarah.
I'm David.
And I'm Kayla.
Welcome.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
I honestly, guys, how we need to start off this podcast is, can we talk about how Kayla went viral?
Honestly, I mean, we knew we hired her for a reason. But let's be real. Sarah and I looked at each other, we looked at the headshots, and we said, she has the personality and the looks. Am I right or am I right?
Stop it.
And it came into the
I was not expecting that at all. And she doesn't even have TikTok.
They're updating me. They're like,
That's
hey,
grandma.
we're at like 25,000 views. I'm like, what?
To be fair, at first I thought it was just me and Sarah just hitting refresh because we were just like hitting over and over again. We just like to look at her, so like it's a thing we do. And so like fine. But then all of a sudden we're like, oh no, like people are like watching it and taking a bite out of this.
Yeah, we loved it. So with that, we have been so thankful for the support, the excitement, like the watches, the subscribes, the likes. It just has been overwhelming, and we can't thank you enough for supporting us on this adventure.
Exactly.
So who wants to tell them what we're talking about today?
So for this episode, we decided, we were kind of all over the place. We're like, how do we organize our thoughts and how do we actually get started with our real episode 1 now that we got our introduction kind of taken care of with the first episode. And I think we all decided that the first thing that happens is you get engaged. So we want to kind of label this episode, I'm engaged, now what?
Now what?
So exciting.
People.
And engagement season's coming up.
It is.
We've got
It is.
Thanksgiving,
all the
Christmas,
holidays.
Valentine's.
Love is in the air.
Love is in the air.
Zales, K, they're going
yes,
wild.
They're going wild. The commercials are on repeat.
They really are.
You see it. It's
Black Friday, crazy.
Oh my gosh.
But
I'm super excited.
So when we decided to do You're Engaged Now What, we felt to make an approachable, digestible way to think about this, and we came up with the 3C's.
The 3C's.
3C's. Do you want to say?
Yes.
3C's?
Celebrate.
Yes.
Converse. And chairs.
We'll get to that.
And we're going to get to what the heck chairs means.
Yes.
But you'll enjoy it. It'll make sense.
Yeah.
So we're just going to dive in because this engagement is supposed to be really fun, but it also can be really, really overwhelming.
Yes.
And so celebrate is number 1.
Yeah.
Take time with you and your future spouse and celebrate the fact that you're engaged.
And don't be afraid to tell friends and family that, because your first question from people after they're excited is going to be like, when's the date? And they will ask you that, like as if you got engaged 3 minutes later, when's the date? As if you're supposed to have all these answers right off the bat. So don't be afraid to tell people we're just taking this moment in, and we're going to celebrate for a little bit and really just hone in on this feeling before we really start to kind of plan and go through all the steps.
Exactly.
So really just enjoy it. Enjoy the process.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, kind of serious thing you and your spouse, or future spouse, is about to embark on. Those nerves and that happy anxiety is okay. Like, I think, like, a lot of people, I mean, because the movies, etc., we're focused on this, like, highlight reel, right? So we only see the highlights, the highs of the, like, oh my gosh, I got engaged. And then there's, like, a montage. Now you're at the wedding. You know what I mean? Right. They're like this happy-go-lucky montage, and now you're getting married, you're in your dress, you're in your suit, etc., etc. And so it's okay to feel those feelings and to take time with those feelings, right? To take time and to sit with those feelings with your spouse. And, like everything, with the happiness, with the joy, there also comes bouts of sadness for a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
We know couples, Kayla, I'll let you talk about that one couple that you talked to, is that, during this time, it may not always be sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah.
You will go through a sense of mourning. mourning ideas of what your wedding could be, mourning people who can't be at your wedding, or, mourning people who aren't going to be at your wedding, all of those things, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
And those are real valid feelings. And I know you said that story. I want you to share it. That was a beautiful story.
Yeah, I through one of my couples, I was doing my first meeting with them, and we were going through all the questions to kind of keep them on track of like what are their thoughts, what are their dreams for the wedding, and what do they expect it to be like. And I was just going through my typical questions, and one of them was, okay, after your guys' first dance, are we going to get into the father-daughter dance right afterwards? And the bride just like had a meltdown, and it was so sad, and we were both kind of just like tearing up and talking to each other. Through our first meeting, we had like such a deep moment together, and she's like, I tried to process this and know that this question was going to be asked, but she's like, my father passed away just a few months ago, and it's very new to me, and like this is one of these big moments in my life where it's just kind of crashing and really hard on me. And I was like, take your time, like I know that this is huge for you and like a hard thing to process, so just kind of try to have those realistic feelings, like once you have all that high and that excitement, that there will be kind of low and hard times that you might have to go through with you and your soon-to-be spouse and family, and conversations that you need to have. But that kind of shook me in that moment. It was sad. Like you really do have to like think of those questions and those hard moments that you're going to experience through this whole journey.
Yeah. Which I think leads us into the next C is after that celebration has happened, if you've thrown an engagement party, whatever you want that to look like, there's a lot of conversations that are going to have to be had. And a lot of that is expectations. A lot of that is budget. There's just things that need to be talked about. And exactly what you two just mentioned of like the conversations of maybe the expectations that you thought were going to happen aren't happening, so maybe having to mourn those. There's just a lot that goes into that before you actually start planning. Conversations are really important. And one of those conversations being with your fiance is about the budget and what that's going to look like, because you can scroll through Pinterest, you can scroll through all of the things and think that that's what you can afford, and you fall in love with something that when you get the price tag, it is not what you can afford.
Nope.
So, and those might be really hard conversations because everybody's family dynamic is different. Sometimes parents help, sometimes they don't. And having those conversations and figuring out, hey, realistically, what can we afford? What's our budget, and what is that going to look like?
Exactly. And it's also having an understanding that it's okay to establish boundaries, right? Like, so we think about these boundaries, and we think about, like, it's such a, like, a cliche or, like, dangerous word, right? You're like, you don't want to offend anyone. This is supposed to be a happy time. We're not supposed to, no. At the end of the day, it is about you and your spouse. Like, at the core of a wedding is a marriage, right? And people lose sight of that with all the nuance of like the white dress or the fancy suit or the venue and the food, and you get lost in the sauce. At the end of the day, it's about you and your spouse. So that's why we thought it was important to have Converse be a part of this conversation, because you celebrate with your partner. You also talk with your partner, say like, this is the budget we're gonna do. We feel comfortable only spending $40,000. Now my mom has a great idea that wants to do a 5-course meal for the guests, etc. She's not willing to pay. We're not willing to pay. And that's okay. And mom's gonna be disappointed. Mom might disagree, and that's okay, because it is our wedding and it is our thing, and it's going to happen. Those conversations will happen, but you need it to happen in order to ensure that the day is about you two, not about anyone else. Right?
So let's talk about that, like, realistically, because I'd love to hear some of your conversations that you've had. One conversation that I've had that, like, I will never forget is that my husband was very not really opinionated in the process. Truly, he was like, whatever makes you happy. His one non-negotiable was that he did not want to get married outside. He's like, I sweat too much. That's something I know about myself. I do not want to be in the Florida heat.
Yeah.
Right? And, like, I had to respect that because he was letting me, choose whatever I wanted to do. But his, like, boundary, his one thing, his non-negotiable that him and I needed to converse about was, like, wherever we chose, there needed to be an inside option for ceremony.
Yeah.
And that was one of those things where it's like, when we went venue shopping, we had to know that.
Yeah.
Those are conversations that you have to have. And so They probably would love to know. I would love to know when you guys were venue hunting, or like, was there anything that you talked with your significant other that it was like, these are the non-negotiables, that like it was just you two conversing about before family got involved?
Girl, you
go?
Yeah,
Okay.
you go. I was like, you go first.
So it was difficult for Dan and I to really come down to like what our wedding day will look like, because our dreams were just running wild. I mean, we've talked about everything under the sun. We're like,
I forgot about that.
We were like, we can go to Ireland and rent a castle, and like for our rehearsal dinner we can do like a murder mystery in the castle. Like, we had all these ideas. Mind you, the budget still would have been a fraction of what it was in the United States. So like that was selling us too. We're like, oh my gosh, like that's so cool. We can do
so you coded.
I know.
Oh
I know.
my god.
Or there's like
so
these
cool.
like villas in Italy we were looking at were still cheaper, and like they had these big pools, and like we can make it a whole week getaway. We'll have our families flown in. Like, it would be beautiful. Then as we were talking, because this is what you have to do, we really found out that like our non-negotiable was we will have to get married in a church, and we need all of our people with us. And shortly we realized that dream will not happen for us, because my grandpa's he's never been on a plane, and this will not be his first time coming on a plane. So we knew he wasn't going to make it. We had other loved ones that there was just no way that they would be able to get on a plane and do that for us, and we just had to reel it in and be like, what do we want most? And we want all of our loved ones to be there, and we want to be married under a church, and just like have that be our foundation of our wedding, which kind of then helped direct us into the direction that we ended up going in, which wasn't those obviously, but having those conversations is what really got us down to like happy with what we ended up settling on, because those main foundations are what was met, and anything that happened or whatever our day looked like, as long as those two things were happening, then we knew we'd be so happy and our day would be perfect. Wherever it was.
I think hearing that, and as people are watching this, every conversation's going to be different. Because one of my best friends just got married in Ireland, but that was their non-negotiable. Like, they got engaged there, and they said, if people can come, awesome. What you and I want is to get married in Ireland, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Everybody's, it's the comparison game that's going to be, they say that it's the thief of joy, yes. And if you constantly are comparing, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, 40 years down the road, you're going to look back at your wedding and your wedding alone. So it's what you want. And so as people are watching, like, yes, people can make that choice to go overseas, but for you and your significant other, for you and Dan, you said, this is what we want. And that's okay. And I think that's one of the biggest things, is it's like, everybody's going to have opinions, and it doesn't matter, because it comes down to what you and your partner
we knew
want
wherever
to
we
do.
get married in the world, if those two things were happening for us, it would be the best, most beautiful wedding in the world.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
What about you?
Oh gosh. It's funny, because in my relationship we're two very opinionated people, right? But weirdly enough, I think it was truly a godsend. I don't know. It was like, I knew the idea that I wanted. Chris and I, my fiance, we both like this idea of rustic charm, right? Like this idea of a barn, very, very rustic. And so that kind of helped guide a lot of our decisions. And also for me, being in the wedding industry, I know the time goes by so fast. Like, literally in a blink of an eye, it's gone. And I didn't want that for me. Like, I was like, I'm going to pay all this money. I want it to be a multiple day affair. Like, I don't know. It's just who I am as a person also. I just like things to be multiple days. And so that was also something on my list, on my non-negotiables. And Chris was like, okay, fine. And my best friend found this one venue. I mean, we kind of lucked out. I found one venue, and we did not look at any others. And it was kind of it. Like, but it lucked out for us, because we already came in with that checklist. Right. Of like, okay, we want a barn, and we want to be there for multiple days. Boom. The first venue we saw had literally everything we wanted. And I was like,
and we'll get to it, but obviously it was in your budget too.
Yes, it was in our budget.
You have
and that's
to go
also
into
conversation.
Those meetings.
Yes. Because perfect. Because like, for me, and it's funny because we talk about relationships, I have a I'd like to call healthy fear of debt. Of like money. My relationship with money may be different than your partner's relationship with money, right? Yeah. And so my partner in this conversation, he doesn't have those same fears as me, right? Like he's willing to spend more maybe for the aesthetic, and I'm not. So that was a real hard conversation we had to have before going to venues, because I was like, well, I don't know if I want to pay X amount of money. And he's like, well, I'm willing to pay this. I'm like, okay, compromise.
Yeah.
Where can we find something? And we did. In literally our first shop, we found it.
Yeah.
And those were hard conversations we needed to have before we let anyone else get involved.
Right.
Which jumping in between that, like there will be arguments, which is normal. So don't feel like we're talking about our wedding and we're arguing a lot. Like, are we okay? Is this normal? It is so normal. It is so, just do it respectfully, and it's going to be hard because you both have different dreams and you have to find a way to match it. I mean, you guys are going to be together forever, and you've been individual people, and now you're learning how to become one, which is very difficult. And throughout your engagement is your navigation to become one. So it's a hard, rocky road, but you'll get there and it'll all be worth it.
Look at our little nuggets of wisdom.
I know.
That one's going to go viral.
That one's going
going viral.
Okay, the pretty one has the viral moments. What can we say? It's coming in dividends. The returns are coming in dividends.
What can you say?
Yeah, it does show that's so stinking true.
It's
It
so
is.
true.
It is.
Oh
And I
my
think that's what
gosh.
people fear. Like I said, the vignettes of life. We're in a social media realm where you just highlight your life. And then you don't realize all of the minutia, all those hard conversations you had to get there. How many times I've had conversations with brides and grooms talking about the arguments they had with their parents before they even got to the venue. Or me getting there, I'm like, tell me the stitch. That's what I always say. I'm like, what's the stitch? And they're like, well, my dad is angry about this, and my mom's angry about this. And I'm like, heard. It is our job to navigate that, right?
Yeah.
Talking about wedding coordinators, navigating that relationship. And then also ensuring that they get the couple gets what they want.
Yes.
I mean, I had this one couple, such a sweet couple. The son was of divorced parents, and they did not. Nope. It was not a thing. It was not a thing. You know what I had to do? Full stop.
Tell 'em.
I literally had to rearrange the seatings. So it was going to be a traditional one aisle. Nope. I added multiple aisles, so they all got front seats.
Oh, I love it.
So they all got front seats.
Oh, we got a needy family.
We do. No, but this is the thing about conversation. It's okay, and this is why you hire people like us who are truly dedicated to you, because we saw that they conversed, they talk about their desires. He wanted both of his parents to be there.
Sure.
That was a priority for him. And how can I, as the wedding coordinator, get him to have the happiest day?
Yeah.
Knowing that is his top priority, is to make sure both of his parents are there.
Right.
I'm going to make how many rows you need. I'm going to give you...
And actually, it looked great.
It looks
fine.
fantastic.
Well, and you're missing the part that, they didn't want to sit next to each other.
Oh, yes,
That's why you had to make the rows.
Because there was a lot of tension, so they did not want to sit next to each other, and they also wanted the main seat. They wanted, the seat closest to him, and so I had to, figure out MacGyver some way to make the seating, so...
But once all of that also leads to, can you imagine the conversations they probably had to have with both mom and dad?
And the boundaries.
There's just going to be conversations that you're going to have.
Amen.
And they might be hard. But in the long run, it's going to be worth it. Because the planning process, and this is what I tell couples when they reach out, it's supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be exciting. And so that's why conversations, boundaries, all of these things will allow you to have a really exciting and healthy journey through your engagement.
Yeah.
So,
we kind of talked about it, which I think it's a natural transition. The hardest part of planning, right? Because it's all fun and games. Pinterest is amazing for ideas.
Yeah.
Instagram's amazing for ideas. We need to talk about the nitty gritty.
yeah, which is the chairs.
Chairs. Let's talk
Our
about
third
chairs.
Explain
C.
the chairs.
Yeah.
Yes. What is a chair? What does that mean, Sarah? Do you want to go for it, or do you want me to go for it?
So, the reason why chair came to me is because how you have to work out a wedding in your head is the bottom line is people are going to be your biggest costs. Yeah. The amount of people for the venue, the amount of people for who you're feeding, the amount of people for who you're drinking, all of those people have to fit into a chair, right? So in my head, I'm like, how many chairs are going to be filled on your wedding day? Because that's the amount of people that you have to pay for, which is the biggest cost. Catering and food and your venue. Yeah. So chairs.
The big thing.
The big three.
Because you think about it, every chair comes with a price.
Yes.
Right? That you have to... The venue, when they come up with their holistic price, prices it out by chair.
Yeah.
They're like, by how many people are going to fit in this space. So that's why we thought it was just an easy click thing. Like, oh no, it's chair. Think about chair.
Yeah.
Is that there's going to be a body in that chair, and that person needs to eat, and that person needs to drink, and that person needs to sit and use the facilities.
Have silverware and a plate and
a
all
cup.
Oh
and
my.
a cup and all the things.
Exactly.
Champagne glass?
Exactly. And so, and being in the tri-state area, we deal with a lot of couples, you know, from different states, and so we kind of have the luxury of seeing, like, not like the grass is always greener, but seeing on the other side of the fence, right? Like, okay, we've seen couples in New York, Long Island, upstate, you know, rural. We've seen rural Pennsylvania, Philadelphia. We've seen New Jersey. We've seen everything. So to talk about price and the logistics of price, like if we think about averages, right? Like if we're going to throw out numbers, if we think about averages, in New York is going to be more expensive. A wedding over there is going to average $55,000 to $62,000, right? And then you hop over the state to Pennsylvania. We've seen weddings go for like $30,000 to $52,000, and then even in Jersey, like where we live geographically, we're like 2 minutes from each of these states.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy. Like, so I hopped to New Jersey, and that wedding goes for $53,000 to $58,000.
Yeah.
And it's also, I throw out these numbers, and these numbers are just averages for weddings from like 100 to 150, which is kind of like our bread and butter,
Yes.
which is the majority of the weddings that we deal with are in that price range, right? So that's what we could talk about. But it's kind of crazy is what you put into it.
Yeah.
And you need to, again, have those conversations and have that understanding like, okay, this is my budget. Right. These are my budget. And, you know, do you want to talk about the hidden fees that go in that?
Yeah, I would definitely say, so covering those bases, like catering and the venue, those are definitely your two main hitters. And then, of course, your photographer, videographer, all your vendors are another huge portion. But then there's hidden fees and hidden costs that I didn't even know about. Even, like, I just was shocked with how much. I would say about a third of my budget ended up being just hidden costs and things that I wasn't even sure I was going to have to pay for. Whether that was, like, my dress alterations. I didn't realize how expensive that was. Also, the now sending it out to get cleaned and get professionally like boxed up. That's a whole nother fee I didn't expect. And that's like, so the aftermath. So if that's like hiring someone to come and clean up the space afterwards, that's another fee that you won't expect.
Service charges,
all of the
taxes,
taxes. Like
taxes,
if you were in a
yep.
different state, like Pennsylvania, their taxes are a bit cheaper. So if you go for the same style venue in New York or New Jersey, you can pop over to Pennsylvania and you can save quite a few $1,000s if that's, you know, where you need to like kind of bend on your budget. But I would just make sure whatever your budget is, you save a pretty good percentage for those hidden costs and things that are just going to pop up and almost bite you in the butt, because there's a lot of like costs on random like last minute Amazon things that you need to order that you forgot, and all of a sudden you're up almost like $1,000 on things that you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize this, last minute ordering, and like you're out of money. So just that's one thing that you just need to make sure you have like a separate little pot set aside
exactly
of money.
$9 or $9, $8, $25 on an Amazon card is gonna add up.
Like for my wedding I got disposable cameras, which was really cool, and everyone got to take pictures of whatever they wanted. Sending those out and getting those processed was so much money that we didn't expect. Of course, we should have looked into that beforehand, but that was something. It was after the wedding, after the fact. There were still costs after the day of, so just be mindful of those
if
things.
you're hearing these things and you're like, but how does one average person even know how to look out for these things? Another thing that as you're looking into your budget is trying to figure out if a wedding planner is for you. Like, not to give you a plug, but like truly, like that is one of the biggest things is like people call me, they're in the process of booking all their vendors and they're just lost because they're like, am I going to be able to do this in a budget? And they don't even know what that looks like. Is this cost fair? Is it not? People don't know. We do. Yeah. And so one of those biggest things is even if you don't hire a full service wedding planner, budgeting in for a coordinator who's going to help you tie up all of the loose ends, because then you also might even be able to do partial planning, which is, hey, I've done all the heavy hitters. I really need help with these smaller vendors like hair, makeup, transportation, and like, are we on the right track? Yeah. Is my budget right? Can you please help us because we're just lost? Yeah. And so that's another thing is like there are vendors out there that can help you if you were just like, but where do we even start? I'm not necessarily self-motivated, so me going on and trying to do this myself isn't going to help me. Like this is why we are doing what we're doing, because we are so passionate that the engagement experience, the planning experience is fun for you.
Yeah. And we also kind of help create like a priority list for you too.
One of the first questions we always ask.
What do you want out of your wedding? What is your priority? And like when...
Because if food isn't important, then let's get you an 8-person band.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we can do a food truck.
Yeah.
And get your music to be top notch, right?
Yeah.
Like, it matters what your priorities are.
Mm-hmm.
If you want a 5-course meal,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to have to figure out, then it might just have to be beer and wine.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to be able to do everything in your budget, right?
Exactly.
These are all your priorities.
Yeah.
I'd love to know, we talked about it a little bit, but I'd love to know, because I know you said family, but like I think when you think about the aspect of your day, can we talk about what like our priorities were?
Yeah,
Like,
me, photos and video, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
The reason being is because me and my husband love to travel, and we love just looking back at old travel videos that we've put together, old pictures, like we just really enjoy it. And we knew for every anniversary coming up, we can just rewatch our wedding video. We can sit through and go through our pictures. I mean, we have only been married for a little over a month now, and we've looked at our pictures so many times. It's embarrassing.
have you gotten them back
We're
yet?
obsessed.
Have you gotten all of them back? Or
Not
still
all
your
of them.
previews?
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, also, getting to why that was such a priority, my photographer's amazing. Literally the next day, she sent us 141 proofs and previews for
That
us
is
to look
insane.
at. That's insane. I mean, normally, I'm sorry, you get like 7,
Yeah.
12, 15-ish. A lot. She gave us a lot back to work with, and because we spent the money on it, and we wanted who we wanted, and we knew that that's going to be something that's going to, live on for us, because our memories probably will start to fade, but as long as we have those pictures and videos that we can always look back at, we just knew that was something that was going to be very tangible for us, and something that'll never leave us. So that was our main priority.
Literally hearing you say that, because you got what you paid for.
Yes.
That is this wedding industry.
Say that one more time for the people in the back.
You get what you pay for, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Don't be shocked if you pay $1,000 me for a videographer and you get it back and you go, what is this? Because guys, you get what you pay for. If I don't want to use the C word, cheap, but if you're gonna go the cheap way, then expect that back.
And we're not saying there's not diamonds in the rough. And we're not saying, because even as we were growing, we were the cheap option. Every vendor goes through their journey. But there is a reason why a photographer like Kayla's photographer ended up pricing out to be that price. Because of her experience, her wisdom, her know-how, her go-gettedness, her turnaround.
Yeah,
that's
the next
why.
morning for us to wake up to 140 something.
That's insane. That is insane. And that's why you hear like a lot of vendors, they take on less weddings because they understand the value of their time and the work they put into it.
Yep.
Like for me, like my main priority is entertainment. Like when I think of a wedding and a good time, it is shaking my booty, it is dancing around and having the time of my life.
Yep.
And so what did me and Chris pay a lot of money on is our entertainment, is our DJ. And we did all of the extra packages or whatever because we wanted to party.
And there's going to be an experience with that.
Yes.
Right? Your package is live musicians too.
Oh, you love it.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
It levels up your reception.
It does. And not only that.
But once again, you're going to pay for that.
We're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying is that we paid this price for this package, right? But this DJ, they have like live music nights that they invite prospective couples to. So cool. Like Chris and I, we're going to like a Latin music night in December, whatever. Like, and we're able to like, this is what you're paying for, and it's free for couples. And like again, they know what they're offering. They know their product. They're proud of their product. And so they're going to charge more because they know what they're going to offer. And that is why it is important to understand the priorities, right? Yeah. Because for us, it was entertainment. So when I'm looking at my budget, I'm a huge budgeter. I'm a huge organizer. No wonder why I'm a coordinator. One of the many skills we use to transfer. But like, as I looked at my budget, I was like, okay, so if I have X amount here, where am I going to give up on? So like some things that I had to like kind of give way to, and this is just a very honest, transparent, is like florals for me. I'm like, what is the important of flowers to me? Not that much compared to me shaking my butt. me having a good time. So I'm willing to not give up, but kind of alternate and change my dream or my vision of my day to accommodate what I actually truly want.
We will talk more, but there's ways that you can still have gorgeous florals without spending an arm and a leg. So we'll be able to talk about, because we'll do like a wedding on a budget kind of thing, like DIY so DIY stuff, things like that. But I had 2 priorities for mine. One was I wanted to enjoy my planning process. Because I know that I could get overwhelmed or just kind of be a control freak. So I hired a wedding planner, and it was the best decision of my life. And that's kind of how I got introduced to wanting to do this. And then my second was I never thought that I would ever get married in a hotel, like the ballroom vibe. But one of my priorities was everybody to be able to be all in one place at one time. And because we got married in West Palm Beach, Florida, 80% of everybody was traveling. And so we wanted a place where it's like, you're there, you can have fun at the pool, you can hop over to, go over to rehearsal, after the wedding, go hang out at the bar in the hotel. Like, I just wanted everything to be in one space. And so that... which meant that, like, hey, I'm not going to get that perfect, rustic, place that I want, but I don't know. I feel like we made the best of it. So those were my priorities, is, it might not be the vibe that I want, but so many people are going out of their way to come to this wedding. I want them to be able to just stay put, not have to do anything, and enjoy themselves. So those are my 2 priorities.
Yeah. Guys... those are the 3 C's.
The 3 C's.
The 3 C's. Again, we shall go over them. It is celebrate. Just celebrate with your lover. Just do it. Just take that time. Converse with those people. Converse with your partner. Converse with your close-knit people. Set those boundaries. Set those expectations. And also have a true walking into it expectation for chairs. And what each chair is going to cost you. Right?
Yeah. Okay. How many people can I invite? What's that going to look like? And we'll go from there. There's just so much more we can talk about, but there's so many episodes to come, and we're so excited about that. Actually, I think that our next episode, 'tis the season, we're going to do an episode on winter holiday weddings. Yeah. So
check that out.
Check out episode 3 and tune in.
Bye.
Bye.